This class is kind of like church history and current events, past events and current events and everything else you can think of. I want to go to Romans, the 13th chapter for a moment. Romans chapter 13. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, he who resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God. They who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves, for rulers are not a cause for fear or good behavior. They shouldn't be, but for evil. Do you want to have no fear of authority? Do what is good, and you will have the praise from the same. For it is the minister of God to you for good. But if you do what is evil, be afraid, for it does not bear the sword for nothing or in vain. For it is the minister of God, avenger who brings wrath upon the one who practices evil. Wherefore it is necessary to be in subjection, not only because of the wrath, but because for conscience sake also. For because of this you pay taxes, for rulers are servants of God, devoting themselves to this very thing. Render to all what is due, tax to whom tax is due, and custom to whom custom is due, fear to whom fear is due, and honor to whom honor is due. That's the way government is supposed to be, isn't it? I had the last class I did, we were talking about corruption in government. Boy, we've had it for quite a while now in America. It started in the last part of the 1800s. It went on up. We had basically a President Trump and George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, and Franklin Roosevelt. I know a lot of you don't think much of Franklin Roosevelt, but he was one of the greatest men in the history of America, elected 4 times. And he died in the last term. But he did everything that his brother, or not his brother, his cousin, tried to start. He did it. Teddy Roosevelt should have never surrendered, and he should have gone on for his 3rd term without ever relinquishing it. He should have. America would be a better place today because of that. We've had, America has gone through a lot of corruption. We've had a lot of good men up in Washington, D.C., and a whole lot of bad ones. We've had some good ones. I hear things about they shouldn't be any foreign-born people be a representative or a senator. Definitely not a president. But there are some good ones up there, people. There's some good ones up there too. Just don't discount that all for nothing, because sometimes people come from foreign countries and they come here and they saw how bad it was, and they're holding on to America like a life preserver. And they know what happened over there. I know the one over there from the Russian, Ukraine, Northern Europe area, and boy, she's a dynamo. You got quite a few of them up there that are bad. How they get elected? It's corruption when they get there, and corruption all the time they're there. And they get rich. George Washington was one of the richest men in America. He didn't go to get richer and become president. He served his country. He didn't believe that they ought to even have pay, because he said that would be an incite for corruption. Same way with Thomas Jefferson. Then we have Teddy Roosevelt, a man of the people. I don't know whether you know, and then we had Franklin Roosevelt. Had a Jimmy Carter, was one of the most honest presidents we ever had, but he sure was a worthless politician. Terrible politician. He believed what the corrupt told him. Then we had several useless, corrupt presidents, horrible presidents. The Bush crime family. That's the way it was. George Sr. had a lot to do with the assassination of JFK. Running drugs in the country. We had Ronald Reagan, great president, but he chose terrible running mate. Terrible. That's what got him in trouble. Contra Costa, killing people, CIA, George Sr., CIA, the boys both running drugs. Terrible, terrible situation. Nixon didn't go along with it, so they got rid of him. Simple as that. He didn't do Watergate. He tried to cover it up a little bit, but he didn't have anything to do with it. They got rid of him. Obamagate is a whole lot worse than Watergate and Russiangate and all of that. Clinton was a good president. He was as corrupt as he can be too, but he was a good president. Better than the Bushes. We had a balanced budget. Later on, he was broke when he got out of there, but they're really rich today, aren't they? What happened? We've had a few rising stars come up. Trump stood back there for 20 years, Donald Trump, and I didn't like him at all. I didn't like his demeanor at all. I thought he was the epitome of evil. Of course, I listened to news then too. Then I had to learn not to listen to ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and all of that. I had to learn not to listen to them because that's nothing but propaganda. Then propaganda all the way this side of Truman. We see all of this. Eisenhower had a problem with it. Eisenhower had a problem with the CIA and the FBI. The FBI and CIA were unchecked, uncontrollable power by a few, the secret governments. I've read all of my life. One of the greatest books I've heard about the assassination is the on the trail of the assassination by Jim Garrison. You watch the movie JFK by Oliver Stone. It's a whole lot more accurate than the Warren Report, I guarantee you that much. A whole lot more accurate. That's what the committee right now is discussing, what happened. Oliver Stone was there. He was a witness because he knew about what was going on. This book here is just about JFK, the movie. These are the real files of what Jim Garrison did and what he had to go through. The Irishman, talking about the killing of Jimmy Hoffa, also the killing of Kennedy, by the mafia's part in it. Francis Sharan. Texas in the Morning, Madeline Duncan Brown, LBJ's lover. She loved him very much. They were very much in love, but she tells a story about what happened with the Hunt family and all those Texas big shots that were going to take down Kennedy from the very beginning, from the time he was elected to run, or nominated to run. Roger Stone. You know, almost every one of President Trump's people were put in prison. Did you know that? Oliver Stone spent a little time there. Quite a few of them, all of his advisors and everything, because we hadn't got rid of the coup that took over in Kennedy's time, still is affecting us today. A couple of years ago, I would have been afraid to put this message out, because if I spoke anything at all, I was taken off of YouTube and different things. I was castigated. I was a detriment to society. The man who killed Kennedy. Lots and lots of information, documentation. We see our localities, wherever we are. You know, when you have a democracy, a democratic republic, you have to fight for its safety every generation. My generation went to Vietnam. Maybe every generation went to Korea. And almost all of you are gone from World War II, and all Maryland's father fought in World War I. Vietnam, Korea, World War II. People's lives were sacrificed. Could wars have been averted? Well, we really had a big problem in World War II, didn't we? Had a problem with the same bunch in World War I. Germany again. Something had to be done. They called it the greatest generation. The people that went to war. Maryland lived through that. My father went to World War II, was with Patton, and came home destroyed mentally, absolutely destroyed. Audie Murphy, if he hadn't been in the movie industry, he would probably have been a prisoner killed. His mind was destroyed. By the way, he was one of the men that got Jimmy Hoffa out of prison and got him pardoned with Richard Nixon. But Benninger said that he would always be convinced that Audie Murphy was assassinated because he knew too much. Jimmy Hoffa was assassinated. Audie Murphy was assassinated. The assassins are still alive today, people. We know that. What happened in the last several years with Trump? How many times was he actually nearly assassinated? One time they shot him in the ear. He meant to shoot him in the head, just like Kennedy. Same sign. Right there is where they meant to shoot him. He turned his head. The world is still alive. We still have corruption in Washington, D.C. We have the corruption trying to make the good guys look bad. And that's exactly what happens wherever you are. The good guys are always going to be trying to be destroyed by the bad guys. You have good against evil. Every cowboy movie, almost every crime movie you could saw and from 1920s, 1930s, all the way up to when I was a boy, and Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and Hopalong Cassidy and all that. We have the big, powerful people against the common man. We still have it today. I love President Trump because he's for you and he's for me. I know a lot of people hate him. They've been taught to hate him by the media. The media is a corrupt mess today. The media is still a corrupt mess. Now, let's go back over look back over the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And I'll say LBJ sometimes instead of him, and I'm sorry. They did that in the Luna's conference up there in Washington, D.C. in the assassination of JFK and LBJ, or not LBJ, but RFK and Martin Luther King. And the people are there. Let me just say this, just by way of parenthesis, a parenthetical statement. Sirhan did not kill Robert Kennedy. Sirhan did not kill Robert Kennedy. Lee Harvey Oswald did not kill John Fitzgerald Kennedy, nor did he fire one shot at all. Now, Sirhan had a gun and he fired a lot of shots, but he was stopped. But there was a CIA man right behind Robert Kennedy that point blank shot him. You can listen to Robert Kennedy Jr., he will tell you his name. He went down in the Philippines, he was going to go talk to him. He talked to Sirhan. But the man that killed his father went to the Philippines. He was a CIA man. Point blank, he shot him from behind. The shots didn't come from the front, they came from behind. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, they said all the shots came from behind. The killing shots came from front. Now the one that shot in the head, I think his head was so shot up already, the brain, that I don't think he would have lived anyway. Lee Harvey Oswald was CIA. He was a Marine. His brothers were in service also. A lot of intel, a lot of intelligence. Lee Harvey Oswald was propped and primed to go to Russia, and he told them that he worked and had high clearance. He went in there at 17 years old. From the time he went in the Marine base in California till he left and went to Russia, it was all intel. Everybody that studied his life that I've seen, that any legitimate people said he was intelligence all over him, intelligence everywhere, secret intelligence, CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, intelligence. His brothers were involved. David Ferry, Clay Bertrand, or Clay Shaw. Clay Shaw was his real name. He went by alias. Intelligence. When Jim Garrison brought him to trial, the only trial for the assassins and the murder of JFK that ever was, later on the CIA admitted that he was CIA. He was CIA all the time. But see, he was dead. He's dead. Why do you think that they locked the files away for all of those years? We have to fight every generation for democracy and for our republic. And when you know to do good and you do it not, you've got a problem. John Kennedy was hit in the back, high in the back, from behind. He was shot to the throat, which would have killed him, the doctor said. Shot in the throat. He couldn't breathe from that time on. He grabbed his throat. He couldn't breathe. Then he was shot in the head high, and then that was Charles Nicoletti. Behind was probably the hitman from LBJ, Mac Wallace. Maybe there was a guy by the name of White, which was the police department of Dallas. See, LBJ owned Texas, and especially Dallas. He was shot from behind, probably Mac Wallace, maybe the head shot. There were 2 rifles coming out of that book depository building. James Files said he was behind the fence shooting a fireball, 219 fireball, 222 Remington, with a mercury round, which was explosive mercury round. Charles Nicoletti shooting from the front. Charles Nicoletti probably shot him in the throat and then shot him in the head up high. And see, James Files was not supposed to shoot unless he saw them miss. He just kept saying miss. It didn't kill him, so he shot. And then when he got out there, then they said, "Don't you think you shot just a little prematurely?" He said, "That's all the shot I had. If you wanted me to do a headshot and kill him, that's when I had to shoot," which he did. Without doubt, he was the one that actually killing shot, one of the killing shots anyway. The shot in the throat, the shot in the head, and the shot in the head definitely killed him. The shot in the back didn't. He was basically kidnapped, his body was. They did an autopsy there in Dallas. The doctors all disagreed with the CIA, and they came in there just wrangling them, threatening them, all types of things. You just listen to the doctor's reports. Listen to the one that is testifying before the Luna Commission right now, the JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King assassination investigations. Corruption. Don't you wish you could try those for treason today? But you know what? The descendants of them are here. The secret behind the screen, behind the wall, rulers of our country are still there. They're trying to run it still today. NBC, CBS, NBC, and all of that are all still working with them. You can just see it every day. We still got the black-hearted rascals there today. They're still there. We had a president that came in, as McConnell said, Mitch McConnell said, that's what you get for electing a citizen. We need a lot more citizens up there. And we've elected some of the greatest people working in the government today that's ever been there since Teddy Roosevelt and all the way back. We've always had people that disagreed. We've always had left and right. We've always had the Federalists. We always had the federal government's big and the people are small, and we had the people big and the government small. We're trying to get the people strong today and the government smaller. That's what those just went and tried to do. And yet we got people, the corrupt people out there, the criminals are screaming and hollering. They're trying to kill him. Trying to kill him, to assassinate him. Threatening his life every day. Talking about Elon Musk. Now he has resigned, but he's still going to be a consultant. Current events, past and present. Past has got a lot to do with present, people. God set up government. But 666, man has corrupted it. If a government does not protect you from the government and protect you from the radical killers in society and what we might call the outlaws, then it is no government. James Files tells so much about what happened, the different people that handled him. David Atlee Phillips, I don't think he's related to me. David Atlee Phillips is the handler. He handled James Files. He gave him the gun to kill Kennedy. David Atlee Phillips gave him the gun to kill Kennedy. That 219 fireball. Tells you about it. Nothing to hide. They put him in prison. He was a killer. He was also a patriot in secret operations in Vietnam and everything. You know, Vietnam was a problem, wasn't it? We finally left Vietnam. I had a good friend there in Vietnam, Eddie, in Wisconsin. He went in there with, what was it, I think 2,000 Marines and 45,000 Viet Cong. Only 20 people came out of it alive, and he was one of them. He was shot in the head and shot in the leg. It means a lot to him, the government does, because he laid his life down over there. My stepson Thomas was wounded in Afghanistan and Iraq. Once you go in there and the bombs are hitting all around you and you don't have any peace and quiet, and I remember one of my friends that's come from Vietnam, one of the boys I went to school with, he said he was married and they sent his wife to Hawaii and he was going to go off on R&R. He said, you know, I've been over there for over a year. They sent me on R&R. And when I was there with my wife, you know, I wanted to be with my wife, but he said, I fell asleep and I was asleep for like 48 hours. He said, I realized I hadn't slept for over a year. I was being shot at, attacked. I couldn't sleep. You don't sleep. My dad screaming and hollering in his sleep. Screaming and hollering, screaming and hollering. Audie Murphy screaming and hollering. Audie Murphy's wife had to build him a garage. They made a garage into a room for him where everything is in there and bulletproof the walls because he slept with a gun and he'd wake up shooting. Shoot the lights out, everything else, just screaming and hollering. He said one time he hadn't slept for 7 years. You just read the Hullenbach, the book, you'll see what war is like. People go out and fight wars for freedom of the people. Wouldn't that be the way it would? Wouldn't that be nice if all the wars were like that? If all the wars were like that. I lost my father. My mother lost a husband. Not because he was killed in Europe, but because he came home with his mind and his heart killed. His whole mind was gone. PTSD. Everything was set up in Dallas. Everything was LBJ. LBJ told his girlfriend, he said, tomorrow those blankety blank Kennedys, they'll never embarrass me again. He said, that's a promise, not a threat. And they killed him. And they covered it up. I remember the movie LBJ, and it's pretty accurate, people. I wish he could have talked to James Files and some of the other people that came out since then. But you see what he saw. Jim Garrison was in the military 23 years. He spent 5 years in the service during World War II. He flew missions. He was a pilot. He was a big man, great big man. His family were big Irishmen. 7 foot tall, some of his family were. And he was pretty close to it. He was a tall man. It broke his heart when he saw Kennedy killed. And then he saw all these people hating him. And then he realized they blamed Lee Harvey Oswald for it, so he realized, they had arrested him there. He was in Louisiana, right there where he was. And so he started investigating. He investigated men, and he tried to keep it secret, but then he had people come to him and start offering him payoffs to shut down the offer. Shut it down. They offered him good positions if he just shut it down. And he had a deal with Life magazine. They were going to support him. In the end, NBC came down there and started trying to frame him. When he got a hold of David Ferry went nuts. David Ferry and Lee Harvey Oswald, Guy Bannister, all of them down there were all running this anti-Cuban kill Castro situation. When Kennedy backed off and wouldn't send air support when they went into Cuba, he was a dead man as far as they were concerned. They hated him. By the way, David Ferry had trained those troops. James Files, the one that did the headshot with the exploding mercury round, trained the troops for the invasion, the JFK's invasion. They hated him. They hated him. When they told James Files, Sam Giancana, and the other main head of that, they said, we want you to go and do a little job on your friend. He said, what friend? He said, JFK. He said, are you kidding me? He said, no, I'm not kidding. We want you to go to Dallas. Lee Harvey Oswald will be waiting for you. He's going to show you around. Lee Harvey Oswald was definitely anti-Kennedy, but he did not shoot. He's intelligence. But he had been groomed for years to be the patsy. They had to have a fall guy. They had to have one man that did the shooting. They didn't want anybody to know that all of this was triangulated. David Ferry kept saying, we'll triangulate him, we'll hit him from all sides, we'll get him. And one thing that LBJ told him, he said, he cannot leave this town alive. Another thing that LBJ did. You know, he was kind of a sociopath. Not kind of a sociopath, he was. He had Mac Wallace killed from 17 to 19 people that we know about. People were going to testify to that. People went to prison, but all the wrong people went to prison. All the wrong people went to prison during the first Trump administration, didn't they? Didn't they? Afterwards, the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, was absolutely weaponized against political enemies, the opposing party. It happened. But the American people got tired of it. Enough of them didn't believe the fake news, where they elected him overwhelmingly again. He was elected 3 times, you know, really. The second one was stolen. A fake president was put in there. Biden had dementia for 5 or 6 years before that, according to his own doctor. And it all covered up by the NBC, CBS, CNN. They all covered it up. And then one of them wrote a book. Tried to cover it for himself and make money on it. A corrupt family with another corrupt family. Biden wasn't president. People, he wasn't president. They put him up there, he took the office, but he didn't know where he was. He'd come and go and come and go and come and go. My mother had dementia, I know how that happened. And that was the way he was, and they know it happened all the time. Even when he was running, his doctor told in the laptop from hell, which I have too, the information off of it, his doctor wrote an email to Hunter Biden. He said, hey, he said, I hear your dad is running for president. He said, that's quite a deal. He's had dementia for several years. He's running for president. Look what happens. Obama was president. Joe Biden was president. Hunter Biden was president. That poor girl, Lindy Lee, was close friends with all these people. She left that party. I left it. A lot of people left the Democratic Party because it's not the party I grew up with. Not the party. Not the party for the people. Party for the elites. This is the political message in some ways. It's a message of past events and current events. We still have the problem. They're still there. They're still up there. All the people making money off of all these foreign deals. Look at all the time. Look at all the money, millions of dollars that the Biden family brought in for their family. Frank Biden down in San Diego basically killed a man down there. His brother got him off. But the family sued him. They got over, I think, $900,000 or something like that. And then they wrote Joe Biden and asked him, you know, where's your brother? My brother has no occupation, everything. His brother was sent down to Argentina so he could work the energy deals down there so Union Oil could go down there and deal with Argentina. So that's the only one that Biden opened up for drilling, wasn't it, in Argentina where Brother Frank was. James Biden, Hunter Biden, all of them involved in the whole thing forever. The corruption. That's what we have. But they got in power, didn't they? They got in power. Because the same people that killed Kennedy, killed RFK, the same people were still in power, and they still are in the background today. James Comey. Look at that. The corruption. J. Edgar Hoover, corruption. George Sr., corruption. All CIA. Well, they killed Kennedy. Kennedy wanted to stop the war. He wanted to stop the Cold War. He wanted to have détente. That's what he did. That's what Nixon did later, didn't he? John Kennedy was made a good Republican today. His nephew became a Republican, and he's up there with the Health and Human Services, isn't he? He had to leave the party too because the party left him. We have a lot of corruption left up there, but we have some good people trying to straighten it out. It's been entrenched for a long time, way over half a century. We had to live with it. I've lived with it all of my life. People have died for it and died because of it also. After they killed John Kennedy, they took him there in Parkland Hospital, and the doctors in there, and one of them is testifying before Luna, and he said, I guarantee you the magic bullet never hit Kennedy. He said, and he was shot in the front of the head, not in the back of the head. The major ones, I think his head was so blown apart, by the time that one in the back of the head came, he was dead. And he said when he was shot in the throat from the front, which was probably Charles Nicoletti, he said he never took another breath. He grabbed his throat, and then all these other bullets came. Bam, bam, bam. 5 times he was shot. They took his body, and they kidnapped his body, and took it to Bethesda. And they took fragments of bullets all out of his body, and they did not identify him, they hit him. We know they was hit 5 times. But how many more times? There was people shooting from every direction. They didn't want him to come out of there alive. They said, he cannot survive. James E. Files tells a lot of the story about this. A lot of the people tried to testify later on. The little book here, Texas in the Morning. Right here where I opened the page up there is where Robert Kennedy was going to go after LBJ. LBJ was going to be arrested. They had evidence that he had committed murders through Mac Wallace. If he had not been, JFK had not been killed, LBJ would have been in prison for the rest of his life, probably. There was a Secret Service, a black Secret Service guy there in Washington, and he testified before the Luna Commission. They arrested him. They put him in a mental institution. They drugged him. They did all kinds of stuff to keep him from talking. Just before the assassination, LBJ had gone into John Kennedy's office, and Robert Kennedy was there, and basically as he was leaving them, he was threatening them with death. They were going to put him in jail. You know, the vice president always rides in the car with the president mostly. Time. What was happening? LBJ sacrificed his own friend, Governor Connally, John Connally. And they shot him directly. I don't think that was a miss. I think they shot him on purpose. To just more of the cover-up. Took his body. The Kennedy family, I think, kept the, if I remember right, kept the brain in a stainless steel container of some sort, and some other files there that they do not want to release. They tried to cover up what he had done in the Bay of Pigs and all of that. He wanted to bust the CIA in 1,000 pieces, he said, because they had become too corrupt. They were manufacturing wars all over the world. Manufacturing wars. The military complex. LBJ made millions from Bell helicopter that he was highly invested in, Brown and Root, all the different things. Brown and Root had leases right here in my front yard. Powerful, powerful people. Schlumberger. Halliburton. Schlumberger in France. Schlumberger is Schlumberger, you know, but it's Schlumberger, that's how you say it. I've got a knife that one of the people gave to me. With a whole little toolkit, basically, when I was working with Schlumberger years ago. You know that the CIA tried to kill Charles de Gaulle several times. They went and killed people all over. James Files will tell you that. Different things. Read this book on the trail of the assassinations with Jim Garrison. He said he finally figured out one thing. He said, why in the world did they want to kill Kennedy? Of course, he met with Mr. X now, which Mr. X now wrote a couple of books, and he came out who he is. We know it. That was a general. That they put on leave when he was supposed to be protecting Kennedy. We see the things now more plainly. Paul said he saw through a mirror darkly. That said when all of that, when the Bible was completed, we'll see things just face to face. Now we're being able to see things face to face with the Kennedy assassination and with the Robert Kennedy assassination. Robert Kennedy said he was in correspondence with the man that killed his father. He admitted killing his father. If you're going to go talk to him and find out everything about, he was CIA. And the guy kept raising the money, kept raising from 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, so on and so forth. He kept wanting more money. He finally said, this isn't going to happen, so he gave up. But he knows his name, he knows he was, and the man admitted that he killed him. Sirhan Sirhan did not kill Robert Kennedy, neither did Lee Harvey Oswald not kill John Kennedy. Was he involved in it? Yes. Was Sirhan Sirhan involved with it? Evidently. But he didn't do the killing shots. They stopped him. But the CIA man right behind him, the shots that killed Robert Kennedy's father were point blank. Powder burns. He was right there behind him. And he had just been hired, by the way. The doors had been opened. Madeline Brown talks about all this stuff. The man that she loved was a killer. Madeline Brown met with LBJ in a hotel. And she had a maid for 10 years. She was a black girl, and they just loved her like family. And LB came out and was embracing Madeline Brown. And he walked in the room there and he said, we're going to have to get rid of her. He said, what do you mean? We're going to have to get rid of her. He said, she knows too much. He said, she'll never say anything, Linda. She'll never say anything, Linda. She's my friend. She's family. In a few days, she disappeared. And she wondered what in the world happened to her, what in the world happened to her. Finally, one of the friends that knew that was in the clique, he said, didn't you know? Wallace killed her. Mac Wallace killed her. By the way, Mac Wallace was finally killed. Billy Sol Estes. All of these people that went to prison for what other people did. They were involved, but the other people were handlers. They were little worker bees. But the big queen bee, the princes, the kings involved in it, were the ones that got by with it. Same thing with the Biden family, with Obama. Obama, he sounded like a prince out of the halls of heaven in his propaganda campaign. But when he got in office, it was filled with corruption. Filled with corruption. Bush's administration was filled with corruption. Look at the Cheneys. You think Bush was ever a Republican? Ha ha. Look at Cheney. Look at Liz Cheney. Look who they voted for. Look who George Jr. voted for. George Bush Jr. Who did he vote for? Hillary Clinton. Is that patriotic to America? Well, these are the stories. This is the truth. This is what I found out in all of my investigations for over 50 years. I knew people that were firsthand. Like I said, I knew a naval intelligence officer that I found out a lot of this stuff when it happened. What happened when the Warren reports of, that Warren report is a fairy tale. That's what they said. And of course, when Jim Garrison, CNN, NBC, all of them attacked him, they tried to pay his witnesses to go against him. They killed David Ferry. He went nuts. He went and started screaming, hollering, going on. He said, "You're going to kill me. I'm a dead man. You got to watch me. I'll never make it." They kept on putting off his deposition before the court, and then it was too late. They didn't get his testimony. They killed him. But it was natural causes he died from, of course. One man that Mac Wallace killed was natural causes, but the guy shot himself 5 times with a .22 rifle. You could shoot yourself 5 times with a .22 rifle, a bolt-action rifle, and commit suicide. David Ferry didn't take any what the thyroid, prothyroid. He didn't take that. He was hyper already, and they filled him full of it, and he had a brain aneurysm and died. He said, "I'm a dead man." He was a dead man because the powers to be were still in power. Thank God that their wings are being clipped today. I think God had a lot to do with this last election and what's going on in America today. I don't know what part of America is going to play in the end time, but I'm sure glad it's getting turned around some, and I hope it keeps going that way. If they are elected again, they'll kill him. They don't want to lose the power group. The military complex now, you go back and look at all the people that got rich up there in Washington, D.C., representatives and senators. War is a good business, you know. Sometimes you have to fight wars, and you need to fight them with everything you got. But a lot of times, negotiations are better. Thank you for listening. I hope I've helped you some in understanding this. I've done a lot of research for over 50 years on this before I ever put it out. I asked you to pray for Trump the last time, pray for the election and everything. It was taken off of YouTube. I don't think it'll be taken off this time. I don't think so. We'll see and find out. I was a threat to society, like you were if you spoke the truth. We know now that the orders were given. We know where the orders came from, the Biden administration, Obama administration. Weaponizing what we might call the intel communication, social media and all that. Weaponizing it to their side. God set up government, and He set up you and give you ability to vote. Vote. Vote is the only thing you have. Vote and support the people that are telling them you're doing a good job. When they're doing a bad job, tell them they're doing a bad job too. Father, I send this message out, this little conference, so to speak, with your people, wherever they are in the world. I remember when Donald Greywar from Wales wrote me an email and says, "Don't let them steal the election. Don't let them steal the election. Do whatever you have to." The Father, you got him in there. Please protect him, and I know you have. But it happens it has to be every day too. We continue to pray for our people that they're trying to protect us and give us back our country. Please forgive me where I fail you. In Jesus' name I